The Jenn Royster Show is an inspirational hour with a focus on bringing hope to the world with the greatest healing energy known, divine love. Your host, Dr. Jenn Royster, is an internationally known intuitive spiritual counselor, energy healer, and visionary that will take you on a journey to explore the metaphysical world of healing within, the angelic realm, guided healing meditations, intuitive reads with callers, and interviews with guests that are making this world a better place. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jenn. Welcome to the Jenn Royster Show. It's great to be back here with you here on the Dream Vision 7 radio network broadcast. You're listening to live here at 1510 WUFC Boston. This show is heard every fourth Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. All the listeners on the Pacific, 4 p.m. for you. You can also tune into my show on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Thursday at 10 a.m. and then again at 10 p.m. Eastern. To learn more and for a full station broadcast schedule, go to dreamvisions7radio.com. Now, I've been looking forward to this show all day today because, boy, have we got a power-packed show. We are going to talk about a holistic approach to mental health, to emotional diagnosis, to healing. And you know that that's what I'm all about, and I absolutely love this book. Who we have with us today has written and created an incredible book. She has found 8 different steps that you can take to heal. And we are going to bring her on in just a moment. Now, we're talking about going from psychotherapy to sacretherapy. And that's what she calls what she has discovered, what she has found. And this is an incredible time for approaching mental and emotional health from a holistic, natural approach. I absolutely love this. I love this. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Her name is Dr. Amelia Kemp, and she is an author, a metaphysician, a licensed psychotherapist, and board-certified alternative medical practitioner. She has a master's degree in mental health counseling and a non-traditional doctorate in metaphysical theology. Now, I love that she's combining these together. You know I do. If you've been listening to my show, I am very much about this. I mean, this is amazing. Now, she is the first to offer alternative, holistic ways to describe, interpret, and treat all mental and emotional diagnoses. And that's what she has in her book. And we will give you we're going to put all that information out there for you today. She has offered in her groundbreaking healing alternative method holistic descriptions and healing processes for over 170 mental and emotional diagnoses worldwide. Wow. So with that note, I want to bring Dr. Kemp on. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Jenn. That was fabulous introduction. I'm so happy to be here tonight at this important time in history.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we only have an hour. Oh, my goodness, we could talk about this all day. But this is great. This is just a beautiful time. The divine timing, we were talking about this before we went on the air. This is a divine timing for you to be on the show in this moment because of everything going on out there in the world. Now, you're saying that you have 100 and you have interpreted and you treat. And when you say all 170 mental and emotional diagnoses, is that what's actually out there in the books, that there's a total of 170?
Correct.
Okay.
The DSM and the ICD, the International Classification of Diagnoses, that is the total, even though every year these change because some get taken out and some get added, but that's basically it. And so it looks like it's a lot more in their index because they restate them under different headings so that you can find them in more than one way. But, yes, it's a total of 170 right now.
That's incredible. And you have approached every single one of them with a different approach, with a holistic healing approach. Is that what that's
correct? I've redefined each of them from a holistic alternative paradigm because, as I say in my book, I don't believe people are sick. I believe they're sacred.
Right.
And so in redefining their symptomology in a way that they can hear it from a more positive point of view of what perhaps may be the symbolic meaning of it, has been tremendously helpful for so many of my clients over my 19 years of practicing, and the people who've been buying the book have just sent such wonderful testimonies about the relief they're finding in this reinterpretation of their symptoms. And so it's bringing the hope to mankind that I was hoping to offer.
Well, you're also treating all the bodies, what I call all the bodies, not just the physical, not just the mental, but that spiritual part of us that is part of being a human being here, is part of our life here. That has to be looked at because it's the whole thing.
Absolutely. It's an alignment. What I call it in my book, I have an alignment scale from being mostly aligned to severely misaligned. And in that alignment of mind, body, and spirit, you went right to it, Dr. Jenn, which I knew you were. I was looking forward to this today, too, because I thought, she'll get it. But it's this aligning of these, the fullness of who we are. And right now, the medical model basically focuses on just the brain chemistry and the body, leaving out one's spiritual aspects. But if the spiritual aspects are the eternalness of our being, I don't understand how that can be left out. So that's why we call it holistic healing versus what I felt was fragmented, which is what prompted me to want to do these reframes. And so the 8 steps you were telling the audience about came out of that awakening, and they worked for me as well prior to becoming a therapist. And then once I started slowly integrating them into my practice, I noticed that when doctors would ask, well, what are you doing? Because our patients seem to get well faster when we send them to you. And I didn't know 10 years ago what I was doing differently from my colleagues, and then I realized it seemed as if these 8 steps is what people who came into my practice went through that brought them back into alignment with the fullness of who they were, where they could reduce or completely eliminate their symptoms. And so it's a beautiful process. I can share the 8 steps if you want.
Oh, absolutely, and we will. The 8 steps, and also you're not calling it a disorder. You've changed that to reaction. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Change that, what you're wording. And see, I'm all about the energy, as you know. And the energy behind a word is very important.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. Now you have 8 steps, not 12. This is a different...
Right.
Something different.
Yeah, this isn't a recovery model. This is a transformative model that gives you back to you. Because I love that you mentioned the term disorder and how I released that in my book, because a disorder would mean that someone, the way they came into being was defective some sort. But I don't believe that the Creator brings anything into manifestation disordered. And so a term reaction means that you're reacting to something that took you out of alignment because you came forth as a well-being. And so my term reaction, I felt, was closer to the laws of creation and in that sense. But for some people who say, well, what about when I lecture all around the country, they love to ask me, what about people who are born with such and such? What do you call that? And I say, well, I call that then a divine intention. And so if somebody goes through the book, they'll see in Chapter 3 is where all the diagnoses are, but each one is either labeled as a misaligned thought or divine intention, and you'll know which one it is based on it being italicized, because if a soul comes forth with a sacred agreement to manifest certain things, then that's part of what their intention was. And even if it may look like it's different from other people's experience in the physical, it doesn't mean that it's a disorder. It may be some reason that their soul wanted to expand or send the message to the physical realm that this could be transmuted through spiritual principles. And so this is basically the gist of the disorder rationale. But as far as the 8 steps are concerned, the journey, naturally it's a 300-page book, but the journey is pretty much where I use the word matter, because that subtle energy that you were just talking about is the matter I'm talking about, that there's solid matter, there's gaseous matter, which is that auric realm that is that subtle body that we're talking about. So each of my steps use the word matter in it. So step 1, for instance, let's use a client, which may be a fake name to help somebody understand the journey.
Okay.
Let's say that Apple was diagnosed with depression. And so in step 1, she learned what's the matter, which is the name of that what's the matter was beyond the traditional way of her seeing her life circumstances and symptoms by adding this holistic and spiritual and metaphysical explanation that got to what I call the energy basis of the matter. And so that was very, very important, because many times when people just generally speak of energy in the metaphysical movement or New Age movement, many times they flippantly just say everything's energy. But when I say it, I mean that energy is that capacity of the body temple to perform a task, that being the amount of power, energy, or light or radiation being released and absorbed as their life force or vital essence that we call the spirit. So the energy basis of any of the diagnoses as it relates to Sacretherapy is that divine essence or life force or spirit that even Einstein taught that energy cannot be created or destroyed and only transferred. So we're always only recharging it or dispersing our energy as we come into alignment. And so then after she got that psychoeducational basis of it, she moved to step 2, where Apple was able to reframe the matter in those diagnoses that we just talked about, which each one gives a daily aligning process. All 170 have a daily aligning process that a person does for less than a minute 3 times a day, so that we hit all the learning styles, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, so that they can replace that old automatic dysfunctional way that they were looking at their symptoms that made them feel sick. And then she moves to step 3, where she learned, well, how did the matter manifest in the first place to prevent recreating and returning to those old patterns using the holistic exercises in that step, where she can release those social taboos, that programming and stigma that's been attached to a lot of mental and emotional well-being. And then once she releases that, she moves into step 4, which I call witnessing the heart of the matter, where she became acquainted with her authentic self, which she, like so many, thought was lost. In existentialism and the psychology field, authenticity is just a degree to where one can be their true own self despite external pressures that take them out of alignment with forcing them to comply and conform with ideas and rules and rituals that they had no participation in creating. So once they transmute all the anger of feeling that they've lost time, she's able to release that and accept her now. And then she moves into step 5, where she learned how to stay clear of the matter, which fortified her resolve to fully release those old mental sets that caused that toxic energy in the first place, because now she's able to release the perception of being a victim and began to making the shift to accepting that, in fact, she is a well-being by divine right, because so many people with mental and emotional issues ultimately start thinking of themselves as being sick. So they have to get a new persona of feeling that they're well-being and own that. And then she moved into step 6, which I call procreation, which is a whole new matter, where she learns to hone her ability to create the life she always wanted to live with this new belief that now she actually can. And as a result, that peace of mind, along with the other real-life joyful experiences that she's been wanting all her life, continue to manifest. And so it's no longer a thought. It's actually real-life, visceral feelings that she sees that she has released the depression. And at that point, she's ready for step 7, which I call entering in that inner sanctuary that's within all of us, that spirit place, where she recognizes that she has realigned and begins to overflow with this practice of gratitude and appreciation for having arrived and having survived and now having thrived and can be a beacon of light and inspiration for others. And then finally in step 8, which is basically about staying aligned, where she and all the others that journey from psychotherapy to Sacretherapy now want to maintain their realignment through 12 additional practices that I offer in there that keep them balanced, mind, body, and spirit. So it's really a beautiful process for many souls that take the same steps that Apple did. And then I also have a bonus chapter, which has been so important the last 2 weeks, because my bonus chapter, which is not a part of the 8 steps, is called Ending the Matter. And that's for anyone experiencing suicidal thoughts or behaviors due to a more chronic depression. And naturally, with what has come out of Robin Williams' transition, that chapter, a lot of people have been tuned in for the last week. And so that's been very, very helpful of helping people understand that they can realign in the physical realm, that they don't have to go to the non-physical, but the ascension that one is reaching for as they transition to non-physical, oftentimes, depending on the matter that surfaces in their life, can seem as if it's outside of them. And what I advocate in that chapter on Ending the Matter is that the same God source that's there is here. And then sometimes when people go through this, they're actually fulfilling some type of sacred contract in order to underline the importance and urgency of aligning one's mind, body, and spirit and having the joyful life that they want to live. And so I think that he was spotlighting that for us, to be in such a popular, loving person, to be the example, to get millions, to bring attention to this focus that how important mental health is and how important it is that we honor, the fact that every person comes forth into the physical wanting to live a joyful life, because that's what depression is. It is that call. It is that cue that's telling, that this internal guidance speaking to a person saying that I came forth for the joy of living and I need to align with it. Right. And the depression is the cue that we've gone in a direction that's away from what we inherently knew we came forth to live. And so it's a beautiful process, and I'm just so happy that people are beginning to know more about it, and we're getting the word out about it, and your show is helping me to facilitate doing that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I can feel just listening to Dr. Kemp here talk about this. She is completely passionate, and it's just 100%. You completely are. You have your energy in this. This is your heart work. You know you're doing your purpose, and you know you're doing that. And I can tell just listening to you share that. There's so many things that come into play with this, because when we talk about that part of us that is more of our spirit, that soul, when we go into that metaphysical conversation of that, which is more of, what this show is about, we're not talking about a religious belief. We are talking about who you are, who you really are in there. And that is who is transcending through physical life to back to the spirit, and things like that, coming into another lifetime, all these different things. But they do go hand in hand with that mental, because your belief is the energy that you're putting out.
Exactly. That can't be said better, because I always say to people, since everything begins with a thought, our beliefs are like clothes because we live our lives in them. But like clothes, we can iron them out. We can wash them out. We can get rid of them altogether and get new ones if they no longer fit. And so our beliefs are everything to a person's quality of life, because what you believe matters. Literally, it matters. It turns into some form of matter, manifest, and that's your life experience. And so, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's it.
It is. It really is, because I'm very much about, I believe they go hand in hand. Because, everything that we experience goes through all of our different, what I call those different bodies, whether it's the mental, spiritual, physical, emotional, all of those bodies are being addressed. What I was listening to in your 8 steps is it was almost like you were processing everything and addressing it very gently, almost through all of the different chakras at the different levels. And as you ascended to the next step, and you were 4th at the heart, I went, she's right in there with the energy of the energy transformers, really, with our chakras. And it was interesting because it's 8 steps. And the thing that I got out of that, and I was smiling over here, before we go to break here, we're going to be going to break in just a minute, we had you going up to 8 steps. And that 8, there is an 8th chakra. That is where our soul purpose contract resides. And you took everybody from that physical survival mode all the way through those chakras right on up into that 8th chakra, where the seat of the soul, where all the information is. I mean, that's what we do. That's our history, our book of records. And so it was really beautiful. Hang on to your thought. We're just getting warmed up. And I'm going to put the numbers out there real quick. If anybody wants to call in, 866-338-9663 or 617-237-1234. Stay with us. You're listening to The Jenn Royster Show. I'm Dr. Jenn with my guest, Dr. Amelia Kemp. We will be right back after the break.
Join Dr. Bernie Siegel on Mind Health Matters every first Sunday at 8 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Bernie will draw from his inspirational personal journey, offering us special nuggets of his sacred wisdom. Listen in as Bernie reminds us to be fully engaged in life.
The Dream Vision 7 Radio Network presents Kids for Love. Join Deborah Beauvais and her young co-hosts and celebrate kids making a difference. We invite other kids to join in for spirited conversation filled with creative ideas and possibilities to start your own mission. Let's raise the bar together and cultivate a kinder world by getting inspired to help others in need. Kids for Love Project, celebrating kids that empower others. Callers into the show are in a drawing. It's every first Saturday at 2 p.m.
Join us every second Sunday at 7 p.m. for Living on Purpose with Carolyn Romano, where we explore the mysteries, meaning, and sometimes madness of life. Let's figure out together the ways we're meant to serve and become the fullest expressions of our most authentic selves. Let's figure out together how to create lives of balance, abundance, and joy. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Are you overwhelmed by other people's energy? Do you constantly suffer with emotional drain, exhaustion, or physical illness? You may be highly sensitive to energy and not aware of your powerful connection to spirit. Dr. Jenn Royster is an intuitive spiritual counselor and energy healer that works with the angelic realm and has helped thousands of empathic souls successfully release negative energies, reclaim their personal power, and thrive. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. Book your private phone session today at JennRoyster.com.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Saturdays 2 to 3 p.m. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be love. Saturday 2 to 3 p.m., all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Life We can either be bystanders or creators. Now is the time to awaken to your divine identity and the power of the I Am within, to create a joyous and fulfilled life, no matter what your circumstances are. There are answers to life's big questions, and there is a spiritual path that leads to soul liberation and ascension. Join us every third Sunday of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Prophets for the New Age with Carl and Nancy Showalter on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Money makes us react. It has a way of eliciting an immediate response. From our home life to our own business environment, money is usually front and center. For CPA Jane Honig and psychotherapist Spencer Melnick, the debate is not about what you do with your money. It's about how you feel, react, and interact when it comes to money. Join us at 6 p.m. on the fourth Sunday of every month to explore the money dynamic, part of the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
EDECIA is a U.S. nonprofit dedicated to the dream of ending childhood malnutrition for millions of children around the world. Through the manufacture of Plumpy Nut and other nutrient-rich, peanut-based, ready-to-use foods, EDECIA has already delivered life and hope to nearly 1 million children in over 26 developing countries. To find out how you can join EDECIA's dream of ending childhood malnutrition, please visit edeciaglobal.org.
And we are back. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to The Jenn Royster Show. I'm Dr. Jenn, and my guest this evening is Dr. Amelia Kemp. And we are talking about going from psychotherapy to sacretherapy. And she's been sharing her 8 steps in her wonderful new book that she's got out there. Quite the groundbreaking healing modalities that she uses with a holistic approach. Now, Amelia, you do go and use both sides of healing. You use
absolutely,
and you use holistic. What I wanted to ask you was, what types of holistic approaches do you use with this?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I bridge the traditional with the holistic, and so but what's different in mine is that I also validate energy medicine, Reiki and pranic healing, along with herbal remedies, which is pretty much unheard of in the mental health community. Normally only psychotropic medications are recommended, but I honor the herbal remedies part because it honors the circles of life. And as such, I think many people appreciate that reverence and perceive compatibility with the body temple, because many people are afraid to take medication. But I don't think that the herbal remedies have earned their due respect in mental health, mostly because mental health professionals haven't been trained in alternative healing modalities, much less herbal remedies. But my coursework has me introduce it into the book because anytime an entire country like Germany uses St. John's wort, which is their number one choice for mild to moderate depression, I feel that that demonstrates the validity that these herbal remedies need to be considered. And so I'm not prescribing it to anyone. Don't run out there and buy that without having that evaluated with a naturopath or herbal specialist. But I believe that all of it has its place in holism, and it depends on the degree of misalignment of where a person is. But as far as the energy, you were talking about the chakras before we broke, and I have in the back of the book an appendix that demonstrates the energy field and recommend that people get that type of supple body scan so that they can see what's happening, because before something hits the body temple, it happens in the spirit realm first. And so the subtle bodies usually clue us, but many people aren't sensitive to paying attention to the signs that come from their inner knowing. And so those are some of the alternative ways I do it. But in addition to that, for all of the diagnoses, symbolic meaning is something that means that when we're in the level of philosophy, and as you told the audience, my doctorate is metaphysical theology, and so we see the oneness of all paths. And so when it comes to philosophy, that really means the level of thought, and thought, of course, is subtle energy. And so since Tillard Deschartres said we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, it's important that we see things from symbolic meaning. Dr. Carolyn Mice says symbolic sight, or Carl Jung would call it the archetypes. But whatever, we're a group of us that are making this paradigm stronger and helping people understand alternative ways that are valid energy pathways to healing. And so I blend that with the traditional. I don't throw the traditional out the water. I feel that I'm a bridge, because some people are radicals and feel that you shouldn't listen to anything that the medical model has to offer. And then there are people who are radical on the alternative holistic side who say, you know, the medical model says we're crazy over here, that none of that stuff's research-based, so throw it out. But I say that, fortunately, Dr. Valerie Hunt's work out of UCA validated that the only reason they can't validate the alternative holistic paradigm is because of different geometry systems that can't tap into subtle energy yet. But that's just based on the Euclidean geometry system, which is limited. But many clairvoyants, as you know, we can see auras, we can see a lot of things and have many gifts of clairvoyance that sometimes get misdiagnosed as schizophrenia and other things, because the medical model hasn't expanded its knowingness to appreciating the many ways we come forth into the physical. And so my book bridges both, because I respect both, and I just want people to have the choice. And so that's what I mean by an alternative holistic approach that honors both.
Right. Well, that's very empowering for someone, because when you are struggling or suffering from something that is, you want help, and at the same time you really do. You feel hopeless sometimes with these things, or you feel disempowered. When you have choices and you are looking at it from these different approaches and bridging, well, let's use our logic and reason side, and then let's look at the spiritual side. Let's look at the whole thing. And now a person feels like they are being heard and listened and honored, the whole person. That is empowering someone to take an initiative into their own self-healing.
That is so true, because I can't tell you how many clients over my 19 years had such relief when they thought they was getting ready to tell me something that they feared I was going to Baker Act them for admitting. And when they told me, and I said, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, you're not sick. You're sacred. They were like, you mean you're not going to put me in a mental hospital and throw away the key? I was like, no, but this is a part of beingness. And so many feel the relief in being able to share some of the scary things that's going on with them that they couldn't interpret and were scared to say out loud, because the medical model has this normative curve that says this is too much and this is too little, and where they draw the lines is where they call these disorders. That I'm saying, no, get rid of the lines. It's human experience, so it's a range of experience. And so who are we to say where we're going to cut these lines? If it's happening, it's a part of reality. And so I want people to feel the relief in knowing that there are ways, and I will be certifying psychotherapists so that there will be worldwide availability to the psychotherapy process, so that you can feel honored with the fullness, that you don't have to leave certain parts of you out the door or be scared to say this, that, or the other in front of a holistic clinician that understands the mind-body-spirit connection, that it is all one, that all is well, and that we can help bring you back into alignment. You haven't done anything wrong. God hasn't forsaken you, that you can't get away from that spirit at all. And just like people were saying to me this week about with Robin Williams, because of some of their, like you said, religious beliefs or paths versus just spirit. There's a difference between spirituality and religiosity, and I say that, no, I believe he has reemerged back to pure positive energy, that all is well, that I don't believe in a punishing creator. I believe in an unconditional source in the universe. And so his life represented such bliss the majority of the time. And so the fact that as a comedian, he always knew to reach for a better feeling thought, and it served him most of the time. And so most of us can get out of alignment when something big approaches us, a subject that's something that we don't think we can handle, and things happen. But I believe in sacred contracts and feel because he was so magnificent that his transition may have been contracted for him to go that way so that he could send the message of how important well-being is, and that how we have to broaden our perspective of what all of that is. Anything that forces us to question any type of dogma that says that someone who's already hurting is going to be punished for wanting relief and wanting to ascend back to the fullness of who they are. And so I love that he's challenging that question. And so I really, really honor the gift that I feel he left the world in teaching us that well-being can be found in the joy of living through what I said on my radio show, through fun, outlandish, totally ridiculous, belly rolling, laughter of life. And so his movies did that. And so that's the part we need to focus on, how he lived, not how he transitioned. And so I think that my book helps to bring that home. And so thank you so much for letting me share that part of the importance of balance.
Yes. And she did mention, and quickly before we go to the next break, she did mention she's going to be certifying.
Yes, ma'am.
For, so you can learn how to do this if you are in the healing practice. And also, she has this wonderful book. Really, the book is called Psychotherapy to Sacretherapy. From Psychotherapy to Sacretherapy. And her website is DrAmeliaKemp.com. DrAmeliaKemp.com. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to keep powering on, healing with Dr. Amelia Kemp in Sacretherapy. I'm Dr. Jenn. You're listening to The Jenn Royster Show. We'll be right back after the break.
Join us every fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Jenn Royster Show with your host, Dr. Jenn, on a spiritual journey inward where hope and love bring healing to life's greatest challenges. Enjoy metaphysical topics, intuitive angel reads, guided healing meditations, and inspirational interviews. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Join us every second Sunday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Nurturing Exceptional Children with Dr. Nikki Show, where you'll discover holistic strategies to support children who have learning differences, energetic sensitivities, behavior concerns, and/or heightened intuitive abilities. Through our panel of distinguished guests, you'll receive parenting tips, education strategies, and holistic health solutions that will help these magnificent children shine their inner light to the fullest. This show is a proud member of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
The goal of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love Foundation is to cultivate a more peaceful world by creating awareness that we can choose love. By providing tools for our children and communities, we can enable them to develop a healthy level of optimism that leads to resilience. Our mission is to give people the understanding that they can choose love by living a life with gratitude, having the ability to forgive, and to be compassionate. This is a proactive effort towards mental health that'll provide children and adults with the perspective and wisdom they need to be able to navigate through life in a happy, fulfilled, and meaningful way. Our website is jessieLewisChooseLove.org.
Are you ready to be who your soul wants you to be? Join Lynn McGonigal, the founder of the Lightworkers Healing Method, as she and her amazing guests show you how to move into a life of lasting joy. Miracles happen every second Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Hasn't your soul already waited long enough?
Tune in every first Sunday at 6 p.m. for Maximum Success, The Coach Bruce Show. You'll learn success strategies to take your game to the next level from performance consultant John Brubaker. Maximum Success explores why winners win and teaches you the keys to peak performance. This program is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Join the Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie every fourth Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Come explore with us natural and healthy ways to achieve inner peace, happiness, and an ever-present state of well-being. You're already healed. You just haven't realized it yet. When you're ready, you can change your mind and change your life forever. The power of a beautiful life is within you today. Mind Health Coach with Leah Marie is part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Are you overwhelmed by other people's energy? Do you constantly suffer with emotional drain, exhaustion, or physical illness? You may be highly sensitive to energy and not aware of your powerful connection to spirit. Dr. Jenn Royster is an intuitive spiritual counselor and energy healer that works with the angelic realm and has helped thousands of empathic souls successfully release negative energies, reclaim their personal power, and thrive. Life is to be enjoyed, not just endured. Book your private phone session today at JennRoyster.com.
I'm Dr. Jenn. Welcome back. You're listening to the Jenn Royster Show if you are just tuning in with us. And this evening we have been talking about going from psychotherapy to Sacretherapy, which is a wonderful new book out by my guest, Dr. Amelia Kemp. And before we went to break, boy, you can feel her passion in her work, which I really want to say thank you for bringing this to the audience, and I love that we are sharing this kind of information with you. You brushed across, so I'm going to reel you back in just a little bit, Amelia. I'd like you to go, because she was just so passionate. I love that. But for all you healers out there, life coaches, people that are, if you are a psychologist or whichever side of the fence you're on here, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this, you had certification programs for this. Is that correct?
That's right. And I do trainings for both. For mental health professionals can become certified Sacretherapy providers, and you would bill that under holistic healing. And with ministers and clergy and alternative healers, I have a separate training where you would become certified practitioner educators. And it's the same training. The difference is that with alternative outside of mental health, there's not an actual continuing education unit for us to credit you for. So that's the only difference. But, yes, it's so needed worldwide so that professionals can help to get the message out to their particular clients so that they can have this alternative form of relief. So, yes, go to my website for that. You can click CEUs. If you go to DrAmeliaKemp.com and click the CEU link, it will be two under that. One says mental health and one says for clergy, and you can click either one of those. And so life coaches or someone who may not consider themselves ordained would fall under that category.
Okay.
And so, all the information is right there. And so we're asking people who are interested in that. We hope to be starting the classes by the end of the year for that, and an online form as well, where you can go ahead and take the class right online if you don't want to come to an in-person class instruction.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to ask you that if it was in person or online, so you have both that you're going to offer. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And you have an institute. You have a Sacretherapy Institute, right?
Yes, and the Sacretherapy Institute, it is basically providing this continuing education that I'm talking about. That's why we formulated that. It's a division of the Southern Institute for Family and Community Preservation, but the point of it was strictly this Sacretherapy work and getting this method out to the masses.
Okay, and again, her website, Dr. Amelia Kemp, Dr. AmeliaKemp.com. And where can they purchase your book?
The book's available on Amazon.com or most booksellers, and it's in paperback or Kindle. So it's $21 in paperback or $9.99 in Kindle, Nook, iPad, or Kobo. Most e-readers you can get it on, but that's where you can purchase the book, or you can go into your close bookstore, and if they don't have it, they have the ISBN number right in the computer, and they can order it for you there as well.
Okay, and you have something that you offer if they purchase that book. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
You want to share a little bit about that? I see that here covering in my notes.
Yes. In addition to the book, and one of the steps in the book, I have it so that it's interactive. And so I have a meditation relaxation CD that's one of the exercises in the book that if you purchase the book within the next 5 days, I will send you the CD so that you can utilize that. It's called Aligning the Mind, Body, and Spirit. It's part of my Breathe the Breath of Life series. If you go on my website to it's called Healing Tools or the Healing Store, you'll see 6 or 7 CDs that I have, some for post-traumatic stress, some for addiction, for several different types of manifestations that are there, and I'm creating new ones all the time. So, but that particular one, Aligning the Mind, Body, and Spirit, it would be your gift if you go out and purchase the book in the next 5 days.
Absolutely. Awesome. And hang on to the receipt so you can show that you did buy that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're going to get inundated for a free CD. Yeah, it's absolutely really worth taking a look at. It's a great book. I love the color that you picked for the front of the cover. It's a beautiful amethyst color of the 7th chakra, by the way, for you guys out there. It just is beautiful. It really spoke to me, the color that you used. And I just wanted to say thank you to that. And the blue, and then she has it accented with a blue, and that's always the Archangel Michael to me. But I always pick up on things like that with color.
Oh, thank you.
Because of the energy with the color. And, before we run out of time here, a lot of people want to know about, obviously, the PTSD, or, what about the autism? How would this apply here? Let's go with that. Like children that may, people that are dealing with that. What would you?
Well, with autism, that's an interesting one that comes up a lot. And so with autism, I see that as a divine intention, not a misaligned thought. And because I believe that it's the inherent understanding that one comes forth as an individualized expression of God. And as such, souls who are born with this reaction are not conformists. Therefore, one chooses not to adapt to social cues or norms that are often attracted to restrictive stimuli. And so these souls are preoccupied with their own interests, and so they're not usually absorbed in worrying about the matter of others or what other people think, unless society, which it has done, convinces them that honoring their own divine intentions is maladaptive. And so then sometimes they come to begin to dishonor their own difference. But I feel that in a society where people just like being alone, and many don't enjoy their own company, it may seem strange to observe others who actually like themselves and prefer their own company and find contentment in exclusive activities. Therefore, I believe that what's being viewed as social impairment could also be viewed as emotional self-sufficiency. And as such, what we may be talking about here is simply degrees of how one chooses to embrace one's alignment. And so with those who have that particular manifestation, I also offer a lining process that basically says something to the fact that I like me, the me that I've come forth to be, and I am uniquely divine and content with very few external interests. And as such, I conform to my own inner cues, expecting to be understood, to be loved, and to be accepted. And so I think that that's very different than the traditional model that basically says that if you have autism, that it's a developmental reaction characterized with impaired social interaction, and that repetitive patterns of behavior and restricted interest is maladaptive. And I don't agree with that based on what I've just offered.
Right. No, I'm hearing you. This is really incredible. Now, like we said at the beginning, this is offering alternative descriptions for 170 diagnoses. I mean, she is showing you a different description, an option. She has holistic. She's doing both. She's got the clinical and the holistic. It's pretty incredible what she's doing here. And, you know, I've seen, and I work with a lot with my practice, the flower remedies, which is a natural holistic approach because of the energy it works with. And I'm not sure if you have used those before, but I have found such incredible work with the flower essence. And it's a simple flower essence, but I've seen it work. I've seen it help. And I worked with another psychiatrist before that, she was absolutely all about it, even when she was working with people that had bipolar or something else. Mm-hmm. So that's just how, there are wonderful doctors out there that are starting to open up and embrace the options for all of you, not just a part of you, not about what's just wrong, okay, because that's kind of the clinical approach, what's wrong. Right. And I think that people need it to be approached differently at this point where we are in our humanity. It's we're approaching and we're acknowledging what's great, too.
Exactly. What's right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It really has been a pleasure having you on the show today and sharing your wonderful work that you're doing out there. And I say power on. You're a beautiful soul. And thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. If anyone in your audience has a question that they want to send me through my website, I'll be happy to answer it on my show next week or answer them directly. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And where can they hear your show?
My show is Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com, and then it's archived as a podcast. So far, we started the show when the book came out in January, so there's 26 podcasts available there, and they can see it on my website or on Blog Talk Radio, and begin with step one. This Tuesday, we're already starting step 8, because it takes, as I said in the book, at least 8 months, 6 to 8 months to go through all the exercises, because it's 24 exercises in the book. And so we're just getting to step 8 now. It's not the kind of book that you just read it, put it down, and you got it. No, it's interactive. So I tell you even in the book, okay, you've done this, put this down, take this in for a couple of days, and then come back type of thing. And so basically with the 24 exercises, that's about 1 a week. So it takes about that amount of time. And so we're on step 8 now. But for those just hearing about this, I would want you to start with step 1, and so we'll be starting over again once we've come through that with the questions. But people call in and send in their questions. It's a Q&A format. It's not an interview show, because I only created it to fortify you through the 8 steps. So the show is strictly just about each step or one of the exercises in each step each week right now.
Gotcha. Well, okay, wow. Okay, DrAmeliaKemp.com is where you can go check it out, find out all the information, the name of the book, if you want to go check that out wherever you're looking, Amazon, and I'm sure you have the links on your site.
I do, and I forgot to mention, if I can real quick, that I'm speaking in Sedona this Friday, if anybody's out in Sedona listening, at the Sedona Creative Life Center at 7:30 on Friday. I'm doing hosting a healing sacred retreat.
And thank you. We are off the air now. Thank you so much. That's okay. I always like to hurry. Thank you for listening. This is Dr. Jenn, the Jenn Royster Show. We will see you next time here. Namaste.
You've been listening to the Jenn Royster Show, part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. Join us every fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a spiritual journey inward where hope and love bring healing to life's greatest challenges. Learn more about Dr. Jenn and pick up your free meditation gifts at JennRoyster.com.